Hey gamers, have you ever wondered how a simple fan-made mod could grow into a global gaming empire? Today, we're diving into the genre that didn't just change the industry, it flipped it upside down. We're talking about MOBA, Multiplayer Online Battle Arena. This is not just a game, it's a battlefield of minds, reflexes, and nerves, where one misclick can destroy your victory, and one brilliant move can make you a legend. The genre was born by accident, from a custom map for the old Warcraft III. Yet what began as an experiment turned into a worldwide phenomenon. Millions of players, massive esports tournaments with million-dollar prize pools, endless debates about balance, and, of course, the legendary chat toxicity. But if we're talking MOBA, there's one name at its very core: Dota. It started as a fan project and became a global legend. Each match is like a chess game played at lightning speed, a test of calculation, timing, and mental endurance. So today, in our Virgin Wizard Studio Gaming Museum, we're taking you on a journey to uncover how a small custom map became a worldwide phenomenon, how it evolved, who built it, and how it reshaped the very definition of online competition. And to guide you through this is a true veteran, a Dota player with over 3,000 hours in Dota 2, not counting the first one. Writing this script, your humble narrator, Pavel Bulinko. So, grab your coffee, turn off your notifications, because today, we'll explore how a simple experiment became the beating heart of the MOBA genre. Today, the MOBA genre feels like an inseparable part of gaming. Millions of players dive into intense team battles every day, feeling the thrill of triumph and the sting of defeat. But the path to Dota 2 began much earlier than most people think. Some believe it all started with Warcraft III. Others point to IceFrog, the mysterious developer. But the true story reaches back even further, to the late 1980s, when the gaming industry was still experimenting with new ways to make players interact. In 1989, the Sega Mega Drive saw the release of Herzog Zwei, a strategy game where the player controlled a powerful mech unit, giving orders to allied troops and fighting to destroy the enemy base. It wasn't a MOBA yet, but it planted the first seeds: one controllable hero, two opposing sides, and the goal of conquering a base. Throughout the 1990s, real-time strategy games exploded in popularity. Titles like Warcraft, Orcs and Humans, and Command and Conquer dominated the market. But the real breakthrough came in 1998 with StarCraft. Its perfect faction balance, advanced economy, and dynamic combat made it a cultural phenomenon. Yet it wasn't the gameplay itself that set the stage for MOBAs, it was the StarCraft campaign editor, which let players create custom maps and game modes. That's where it all began. Among those maps was a mysterious creation called Aeon of Strife, or AOS, the first true prototype of what we now call MOBA. It's believed to have been created by a modder known only as Aeon 64, a figure surrounded by myths and speculation. Researcher David Danley, a professor of digital art, studied early custom maps for StarCraft and Warcraft II. He found that Aeon of Strife appeared on Blizzard's Battle.net servers in late 1998, but no confirmed author was ever identified. The map's name, meaning Age of Conflict, might have just been chosen for its epic sound. AOS introduced three core elements that would define the genre forever: 3 lanes, waves of creeps, and unique heroes with distinct roles. However, the original StarCraft engine lacked hero leveling, items, or 5v5 mechanics. It was limited, but revolutionary. AOS wasn't a sudden miracle. It was the evolution of player creativity, merging strategy and role-playing ideas into something entirely new. It laid the foundation for what would later become Defense of the Ancients, Dota. The first steps toward the creation of Dota were taken by an anonymous developer known simply as Yule. Like many modders of the time, he was a huge Warcraft III fan and loved experimenting with its map editor. But instead of making traditional campaign maps or new story missions, Yule asked a simple question: what if I adapt the concept of Aeon of Strife to the new, more advanced Warcraft III mechanics? That idea changed everything. Warcraft III's editor was light years ahead of StarCraft's. It allowed creators to script new abilities, create items, and design complex systems that could rival full commercial games. Yule drew inspiration from another fan-made map, Valley of Descent, which was one of the first to introduce unique heroes with non-standard abilities and shops with magical items. Yule later wrote on a forum, "It was the first Battle.net map to use custom spells. It inspired me to make Dota." And so, Defense of the Ancients, or simply Dota, was born. It kept the basic concept of AOS, 2 bases on opposite corners of the map and 3 lanes filled with waves of creeps, but pushed it to a new level. Each player now controlled one unique hero with their own set of abilities, rather than generic units. Every match became a combination of strategy, reflex, and adaptation. Players earned gold by killing enemies and used it to buy items that boosted power, defense, or provided special active abilities. Some could turn the tide of battle completely, like the legendary Divine Rapier, a weapon that granted immense damage but dropped on death. Unlike AOS, Dota was now player versus player, 2 teams of real humans. The Sentinel and the Scourge, each defending their ancient structure, the Tree of Life and the Frozen Throne. You'll constantly tweaked and improved the balance based on player feedback. The first major version, Dota Classic, laid the groundwork, but it was quickly replaced by Dota 2.0, not to be confused with Dota 2, the sequel. This version introduced more heroes, a refined item system, and, most importantly, the concept of denying your own creeps to prevent enemies from gaining gold or experience. By 2003, Yule released his final version for Warcraft III, the Frozen Throne. Then, he did something that changed the course of gaming history forever. He released Dota's source code to the public. In his own words, "I no longer have time to maintain this project. I'm releasing the latest playable version and its open source code. Anyone may continue the work, just credit the original Dota." That act of generosity gave birth to an explosion of creativity. Dozens of modders around the world started experimenting with Yule's foundation. And in the chaos of versions, updates, and clones, Dota began its true evolution. After Yule stepped away, the Dota community split into dozens of versions. Each modder tried to improve or reinvent the game in their own way. New heroes, new items, new ideas. It was chaos. But out of that chaos came 2 developers who would define the game's future. Steve Feek, known as Guinsoo, and later, the mysterious IceFrog. Guinsoo's arrival marked the beginning of Dota Allstars, the version that finally brought order and structure to the madness. He studied all the existing Dota variants and combined the best elements into one unified project. The result was revolutionary, the most stable and balanced Dota of that time. Starting from version 3.0D, Guinsoo introduced a proper update cycle, constant patches, new heroes, balance fixes, and major gameplay changes. This consistent development was what made Dota Allstars explode in popularity. One of his greatest innovations was the item recipe system. Until then, players could only buy simple items. Guinsoo allowed them to combine items into more powerful artifacts, forcing players to plan builds and economy carefully. This single feature reshaped the entire gameplay loop. He also added iconic items that became part of Dota's DNA. Guinsoo's Scythe of Vice, named after himself, Battle Fury, Blink Dagger, and many others. He redefined hero roles, introducing the idea of supports, carries, and initiators, which remains the backbone of every MOBA to this day. Another key addition, Roshan, the massive neutral boss monster named after Guinsoo's own bowling ball. Controlling Roshan became a symbol of dominance and strategy. During 2004 to 2005, the Dota community grew to over 1 million players. Clans and organized teams began forming across the world. To manage this growing ecosystem, Guinsoo and his friends, Nikes, Pendragon, and Abdul Ismail, IceFrog, created a central hub, Dota-Allstars.com, where updates, changelogs, and forums united the global community. Among all Dota versions, the 5.x series became legendary. It introduced heroes like Tide Hunter, Ogre Magi, and Keeper of the Light, and improved AI opponents for solo players. The most iconic map, version 5.84, became the foundation of early esports tournaments. In fact, it was on this version that the first official Dota championship took place at World Cyber Games 2005 in Singapore. The prize pool? Just $597. Tiny by today's standards, but the beginning of something massive. Guinsoo later left to join Riot Games, where he co-created another MOBA, League of Legends. Before leaving, he passed Dota's development to IceFrog, who would turn it into a perfectly balanced, competitive masterpiece. IceFrog analyzed every detail, damage values, cooldowns, mechanics, aiming for ultimate balance between fun and fairness. He refined the map, expanded the jungle, and made every patch feel like a fine-tuned instrument. By 2006 to 2008, Dota Allstars had become not just a mod, but a worldwide competitive phenomenon. Esports leagues emerged across Asia, Europe, and North America, leading to the creation of legendary teams like Navi, Virtus.pro, and Meet Your Makers. Dota was no longer just a custom map. It had become a global discipline, a test of intellect, reaction, and teamwork. By the late 2000s, Dota Allstars had outgrown Warcraft III. Millions played it, tournaments were being held around the world, but technically, it was still just a fan-made map inside Blizzard's game. The aging engine, constant desyncs, and Battle.net limitations started holding it back. Players began asking the same question: why doesn't someone make Dota a standalone game? In 2009, that someone turned out to be Valve. The studio behind Half-Life and Counter-Strike had been quietly observing the growing Dota phenomenon and decided to act. Valve hired IceFrog, giving him full creative control to lead development of a new project, Dota 2. The goal was simple but monumental: recreate Dota's soul on a modern engine, with better graphics, smooth online servers, and officially sports support. But transferring Dota from Warcraft III's fragile editor to Valve's source engine wasn't easy. The developers had to rebuild every spell, animation, and interaction from scratch, while keeping gameplay 100% identical to the original. Even tiny details like attack timings, spell delays, and pseudo-random critical hits had to be reproduced exactly. Valve also solved one of the biggest problems of the old Dota: unstable online matches. They built a new server infrastructure with better netcode, reducing lag and disconnections. The game now refreshed 30 times per second instead of 12, making it feel much more responsive. Meanwhile, a legal storm was brewing. In 2010, Valve filed to register the trademark Dota, and Blizzard immediately objected. Their argument: since Dota was created in Warcraft III, it belonged to them. Valve countered that Dota had been built by independent modders, not by Blizzard itself. The dispute escalated into one of gaming's most famous legal battles. Eventually, the court ruled in Valve's favor, granting them full rights to the Dota brand, while Blizzard was forced to rename its own project from Blizzard Dota to Heroes of the Storm. It was a historic decision, the first time a fan-made mod officially became a full-fledged franchise. In 2011, Valve unveiled Dota 2 at Gamescom in Cologne, not through a press release, but through a tournament. The prize pool? A jaw-dropping $1.6 million, unheard of at the time. That event was the birth of the International, which instantly became the pinnacle of esports. The Ukrainian team Navai won the very first championship, taking home $1 million and proving that competitive gaming had entered a new era. Dota 2 officially launched in 2013, and Valve continued to evolve it with massive updates, new modes, Source 2 engine migration, and experimental features like VR spectating. Over time, the international prize pools reached tens of millions, rivaling real-world sports tournaments. Today, Dota 2 remains one of the most complex, competitive, and respected games in history. It began as a fan experiment and became a global phenomenon. Because in Dota, as in life, one brilliant move can change everything.